starting with animal rights. A lot in your work, a lot of your positions about animal rights stems from a notion of equality. So why is equality so important when viewing both humanity and other animals in the animal kingdom?
Okay, before I answer the question, though, I want to make just one little pedantic point.
Absolutely.
Some of you just heard me say that if we take a rights approach to human rights, it becomes difficult to decide what set of human rights we have. Julia, you talked about animal rights there, and of course the same would apply to that. Do animals have rights? What rights do they have? Although people very frequently describe me as an animal rights advocate, as you just did, and that's fine from the point of view of taking a political stance. People will know what side I'm on, where I am. Philosophically, I'm not an animal rights advocate because I don't think that rights is the appropriate terminology to think about the issue. I would think of it in terms of the question that you specifically asked me, in terms of equality, equality between humans and animals in a very specific sense. Because again, it's obvious that humans and animals are not politically equal. We couldn't give them the right to vote. But there's a sense in which I think they do share an important equality, and that is the capacity to suffer or to enjoy their lives. And I think that ought to lead to a moral equality in the sense that I think their pain ought to count just as much as the pain of a human being, where it's a similar amount of pain. And conversely, their pleasure ought to count just as much if we can see it as a similar amount of pleasure. So what I'm opposing here is discounting or ignoring the pains and suffering of beings simply because they're not members of our species. And that's the sense in which I want to extend equality beyond the species boundary. I want to say that we should give equal consideration to the interests of all beings that have interests, all beings, for example, that can feel pain, irrespective of their species, just as everybody now agrees we should give equal consideration to the interests of human beings, irrespective of their race or sex. So it's that kind of equality that I want to argue for, and I think that leads to significant changes. Of course, it does also lead to interesting questions about what interests do animals have, where they're different from human interests, how do we compare those different interests. All of that is still questions that we need to discuss.